Hello, everyone. Rich Wildman here. Glad to have you. Music Scene Investigation. Kind of caught you off guard, kind of caught me off guard, but that's all good because we can, now move on with the broadcast. Happy Easter to everyone. It is Easter Sunday. If you're anywhere in the world, I hope you had a good one. And if you're somewhere else other than the world, please have a good one as well. It's all going downhill. I hate to say it, but it's true. And really want to welcome everyone to the broadcast today. If you're not familiar with Music Scene Investigation, it's a great broadcast where you can find new music from independent artists around the world. They submit their music to us to find out what our panel has to say about it. Our panel reviews the music without knowing who the artist is, without knowing the name of the song, the genre of the song, and they only hear it one time. Kind of unique. Kind of strange, kind of fun. We certainly hope you'll enjoy the show as we get to it today. I want to take and introduce our panelists to you before we get to the music. And I want to start in New York City with Mr. Tom Chianti, recording engineer extraordinaire. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to once and all. I am fine, and a personal happy Easter to anyone who wants to take it personally.
That sounds like a threat, man.
Yeah, I know. There's so much of that going on these days. But things are fine. I've been busy.
Busy? How so? What's been going on with you?
I'm still developing unscripted audio. I started the website, and I'll post it up later if anybody wants to see a train wreck. But, website building has gotten far more involved than I ever remember with all these analytics and...
Yeah, welcome to my world now. I appreciate you joining us.
I woke up and smelled the code.
Yeah, no, I understand completely, and we're glad to have you with us, Tom. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's go to Mr. Ian Husbands over in London, England. Ian, happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you as well. A quick Easter impression for you.
All right.
You want to see it?
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Do you like that?
I'm sure somebody did.
No, I thought that was good, personally. There we go. What can I say,
Well, there's not much left to be said on that one. So how you been? Everything going all right with you?
Yeah, it's been, obviously, we've got a 4-day weekend here because of the Easter, which is cool. So just been sort of spending some time with the family and the kids, got a few projects on the go. Otherwise, not a lot happening.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know that you have some informational statistics from last week's broadcast. Maybe we can get into that.
Informational statistics?
Statistics, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Numbers, polls.
Well, I have some witness statements, if that's what you mean.
That'll work too.
Excellent. Well, it's a very easy one this week. Everyone agreed with us, the panel, that Leah Marie, Love Me Queen of Hearts, should have been Song of the Week. Easy as, across the board.
Well, that's good to know. It's good to know that occasionally we get it right.
It seems to be happening more and more often these days.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That makes your job as a panelist a lot easier.
And verified.
Exactly. Now, if
give us a bit of vindication.
Yeah, if we can just get it to be 100% all the time, then we can actually take those statistics and say our panel is always right.
Well, I like the controversy myself.
You would.
Nobody but Tom would like controversy. Well, of course, maybe our guest panelist might like controversy. I don't know. Let's ask him. Mr. Leigh Heggarty with the Ruts DC, among many others, the hardest working man in show business. Leigh, welcome back to the broadcast.
Yes, hello, welcome. Yes, it's great to be here. Hello, everybody. And yes, happy Easter. And thank you, Tom. I shall take your Easter greetings personally.
Okay.
So, now that it's all personal, does that mean you and Tom are meeting after the broadcast to duke it out in the alley?
Yes.
Yes, we're going to split a bunny.
The little known Atlantic Tunnel will come into effect. I'll be under there. I'll meet you halfway, Tom. Should be great.
Okay. I'll start paddling now as fast as I can.
What? How'd you paddle in a tunnel?
That's a real good question. I don't know that Tom understands what a tunnel is, but anyway,
Either he doesn't or I don't. I can't decide which one just at the moment.
I'm not sure either. But Leigh, it's good to have you back. Now I know you've been out doing a lot of gigs, a lot of touring and stuff like that over the last number of weeks since you've been on the broadcast. Why don't you get us up to date on what you've been up to?
Yes. It's been particularly this month has been busy. Ruts DC are about to release a new album called Rhythm Collision Volume 2. Volume 1 came out back in the early 80s, and this was when the original lineup with Paul Fox on guitar, Dave Ruffy on drums, Segs Jennings on bass. I'm on guitar these days. Paul, as I think we've mentioned before on the show, died back in 2007. So we've got the album. We've got copies of the album now, and it's actually officially released in, I think, May the 10th is the date I've been given as an official release date. And we're doing a show in London on that night, the Underworld in Camden, which really looking forward to. We've just done, I think, 6 or 7 shows around Britain. Friday night we were up in Birmingham doing a sort of a launch party stroke gig for the album because as I said, we finally got some copies, and the shows have been brilliant. Really a real pleasure to do. There's a worrying amount of them on YouTube, so everyone can check it out. Somebody put the entire Stockton-on-Tees show up as one long track. There's like an 80-minute track.
Wow!
So you can watch the whole show. Anyone who's in a band will know watching a show of yourself all the way through is quite interesting. Sometimes very strange. You see sort of odd.
So we can actually go out on YouTube, check you out on stage with the other guys from the band, and new album to look forward to as well. Tell us a little bit about the album.
The album has been quite a while in the making. The band reformed to do a benefit show for Paul when he was ill. He was suffering from lung cancer. A year or so after that, Dave, the drummer, and Segs, the bass player, got together, started to get the idea for some new material, went in and did a bit of jamming in the studio, looped some tracks, chopped them up a bit, made them into songs rather than jams, really. And it's been kind of pieced together over the last couple of years in between other commitments because they're all in other bands and things like that. And everybody on the album has obviously got other things that they do. So it's taken a while to get together. It's also self-funded, so it's all taken all sorts of odd turns along the way. But now it's finally out. It's out on their own label, So Sue Me Records.
Nice.
As I say. Yeah, and it's very exciting. I do actually have a copy of it. I just realised I've got a copy of it next to me. Look, I should hold it up to the...
Absolutely.
There it is.
What a coincidence.
That is the copy. I forgot I had that here. That's my copy of the album.
So now I just noticed that the color scheme on it is fairly dramatic.
Yes, the colours of anarchy.
I was just going to ask you about that. What's the correlation with the color scheme and the content?
The front cover was designed by John Howard, who designed the original Ruts album covers back in the 70s and 80s. So that graphic on the front there, which we can just about see, if I can never work out which way you move when you're on a camera. You move the other way, don't you?
Exactly. It's always backwards.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Excuse me. He designed that. So there is a real kind of link to the past in that respect, which is kind of cool, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think
it's nice, isn't it? And I didn't realise that until so I did realise it, but I didn't equate it. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
especially if you don't do math.
Yeah, sure.
Only Tom from New York. Only Tom.
I didn't go to that lesson where you made perfect sense of album covers. But yes, so it's all coming together really well and very exciting and great to be doing it.
All right, so the album's coming out in May. And between now and the album release, what have you got going on? Where can we go out and find you?
There's some Ruts DC dates in at the end of April and then running into May. And then myself, I'm also doing some stuff with a band called Back to Zero, who I've been rehearsing with today. They were a mod band over here in England in the sort of late 70s when the Jam were very popular and the film of The Who's album Quadrophenia was out. And they were only around for a year or so, but they had a single out that was kind of a near hit. And they're a bit of a kind of an unknown. A lot of people didn't see them, so they've got a little bit of a name on that circuit. So we're doing a couple of shows in May, but we've been rehearsing for that today. So that's been really good. And in the meantime, I'm out and about with all those other strange groups that I play with in the West London area, trying to make a living, really. Well,
that's great. I think that's wonderful. I mean, like I said in the opening, you're one of the hardest working guys I know in business. It seems like when the Ruts DC aren't out, you're off and running with somebody else and keeping it going. I mean, you're always out and doing something.
I try to be, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and they said, you're doing obviously some quite nice shows with Ruts DC, and hopefully some more in the pipeline. We're doing some festivals and things like that. But you're still playing the local pubs kind of thing. And I said, well, yeah, it's all about playing music. I'm lucky. I think I've said on here before, I consider myself very lucky to be able to go out and play. There's a lot of better players than me that never get out of their bedrooms. There's a lot of better bands that don't get out of rehearsal rooms. No one ever hears. So
now
the chance to go out and play
reminds me
never to be taken for granted.
That reminds me of a question I had. I got up early this morning and I'm going through my mind of what's going to happen during the broadcast and everything. And one of the questions that popped into my mind that I thought would be perfect for you is at what age did you realize that music is it for me? This is what I've got to do, and everything else is just, a side kind of gig, but music is where it's at, and it's what I want to do.
That's a good question. I could give you a very short version of what's actually quite a long story in my case. I didn't do music at school. I didn't study it in any way until when I was about 15 or 16. The kind of punk thing started happening in Britain, which I found very inspiring and very exciting. But even then, it took me a while to kind of. I managed to get a guitar, and I didn't really get into it for a while. And a lot of people are in bands by then, aren't they? They're already on their way, if you like, or they're out playing. I didn't do that. And when I left school, I got a job in a factory and hated it and got terribly down and had all sorts of problems with it. And oddly enough, it was a countryman of yours. I went to see Bruce Springsteen at the Wembley Arena on the River Tour. I was never a great Springsteen fan. A friend of mine had a spare ticket, and I went along and I thought, well, I've seen The Clash. He can't be that good. Come on,
Sure.
And it was devastating. What I saw that night changed. It really did change my life. And even then, it took a while for that to sink in. It was the most extraordinary evening. Just the power of, not so much him, but it was the power of the evening. You
think
that was it?
The music combined with the crowd. I mean, just the masses of people.
Yeah, that was part of it. As I say, I'd seen a lot of the punkier bands and things like that. I'd seen some of the older bands as well that were playing at the time. But I'd never really. I always liked music and always could, teach myself to play. I've been taking a few guitar lessons, things like that. But I was very directionless. I didn't really know what I was going to do.
So the boss.
I was about 20 then. I was about 20, I guess. So that's quite old, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, so the boss is the man who really set you down that path.
Weird, isn't it? I mean, I don't like all of his stuff. The stuff I like by him, I like a lot, and some of it I just bypasses me, really. But it was. I say again, it was him and his performance, but it was the effect of the evening. It was the kind of almost like the euphoria of it, the kind of uplift that I got from that evening. It took a while to sink in. I still think about it. It's still weird, and that album really sounds strange to me because I often think it's kind of a weird evening.
Well, that's a very cool way of looking at it. That's something that, most people say, like we've talked with other musicians, and they're like, well, my brother got me involved, or the friends in school, things like that. It's very rare. And I think this is the first time I've ever heard like something like, Bruce Springsteen is what really laid it out for me.
It's a strange one, isn't it? As I say, I'd seen a lot of music up until that point. So one thing I did have, because I had this factory job, I had a bit of money. I was living with my mum and dad. I could go and spend a bit of money, if you like. I mean, family-wise, I had a cousin up in Merseyside, Gary. He had a guitar, which I was quite fascinated by, when I was quite young. But I didn't play it then. But I remember it very clearly. I remember the sort of the magic of him bringing this guitar in and it being very exciting to see.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's great. And I'll tell you, one of the things we like to do here with listening to some of this new music is hopefully try and inspire other musicians and, get them as passionate about music as what you are, what Ian is, and I know Tom is as well.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. And that's another interesting thing that although sometimes it's very hard to make a living playing. In fact, it's very hard to just play. Most people do something else. If you're lucky enough to just play, and then if you're lucky enough to play your own music, that's even better. But to just be able to play is quite hard. But even at the I'm not at a particularly high level, and I'm maybe at a slightly higher level than some people, but some of the comments that people make after shows when they say, how did you do that? Or I saw you play here last time and it was brilliant. I've come back and I've been trying to play myself since then, and that. You can't buy moments like that. They're extraordinary, and as I say, never ever to be taken for granted.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's a great thing to.
Yeah. Now, so we can look forward to seeing you out and about in the UK. Any shows outside the UK we might be able to look forward to seeing you in the future?
Yes. Hopefully, we're going to Germany in September. We've got about 4 or 5 shows over there, and there's talk of your country. So maybe at some point we will make it across to you.
Oh, you absolutely have to let me know, because if it's within wheelchair distance, I'll definitely be there.
I shall make sure we do a show in your orbit.
And I will clear out some area in a cornfield for you guys, and we can do a corn festival kind of thing.
This is getting better by the second.
and I don't need a wheelchair, so it can be more than 100 feet away from the front porch.
Ramps everywhere.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, before we get Leigh to the United States, let's take a listen to some music submitted by artists from around the world here on Music Scene Investigation as well. So, gentlemen, if you're ready, let's go ahead and take a listen to song number 1 on today's MSI. Here it is, everyone. Song number 1. And that is song number 1 on today's MSI. I want to find out what Mr. Ian Husbands thought about that track. Ian, song number 1 to you.
Well, I mean, the thing that struck me straight away was how toppy the whole mix was. There was no bottom end in this mix at all. The drums and the bass were set way back. The vocals and the guitars are way up front. And it just done nothing for me, to be honest. It was very cliche blues with nothing that really stepped out and grabbed me. The performances were okay. I thought the vocalist was quite good. I found the guitar lick far too repetitive, didn't break up, and the lead guitar, the string bends were just lazy to the point of being out of tune in some points of time. These people can obviously play, but I just don't feel they gave it their all on this track. And when it's been mixed, it's all the bottom end's just gone. There's no bass there, there's no kick drum there. It's just all very sort of up in the top. Creatively, I didn't think it was very creative at all. It's just another one of those cliche blues songs that it was nothing new. It's a short track, and it's going to be a short review because it just didn't do much for me, this track at all.
All right, Ian, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much, Mr. Tom Chianti. Over to you.
I beg to differ with Ian. That review was longer than the song, but I do agree with him. It's actually more the mid frequencies, which made the panned rhythm guitars a little bit overbearing. I think the vocalist did an excellent job, and it's a cool 3-minute, rock song. Unfortunately, it needs to be remixed or mastered so that you can get the balances correct. Even with the vocals being so bright and stuff, they still were uneven. But it's a good time song, a feel-good song. I think it could have been a little bit more freewheeling, a little bit more live, and definitely, a little bit more experimental in playing. But the playing is really quite good. But again, I ultimately agree with Ian. It does fall short of its potential.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you. And let's go to our guest panelist, Leigh Heggarty of the Ruts DC. Leigh, what do you think of track number 1?
Okay, I was toying with the idea of starting with the line that Tom ended with. It didn't get to its potential for me. I like the idea of it. Yes, it's a very nasal sound, or it certainly was in my headphones. And Tom made the observation about the panning. The guitars were very hard panned on this thing, and they were very, very, very fuzzy and very kind of, as I say, nasal sounding, which is a bit of a shame. Because some of the ideas were okay. Yes, there was a very flat note at one point, and speaking as someone who does more than his fair share of flat notes when it comes to string bends, that was a bit of a shame to hear that because it sort of stuck out a bit. I felt it would have benefited after the second vocal 12 bar from a middle 8 or some sort of variety, some sort of variation in it. The best moment of the track for me was when the music stopped and just went to the vocal, because it was a little bit unexpected at that point, because I'd kind of figured it was going to keep going. So like a middle 8 and then the guitar solo a bit shorter would have been my, if I was involved with the track, I would try to come up with something different in the middle. The vocal, when it first came in, I thought it sounded a little bit strained, but I got used to it after a couple of lines. And yeah, again, as Tom said, it was a good vocal. There was a bit of heart in there. Certainly by the third verse, it was sounding good, I thought. Sound-wise, I just figured it was a home recording or something like it. I might be completely wrong there, but that was the sound it had for me. And yes, a little bit nasal, a little bit kind of cramped sounding. Is that a word you can use with sound?
Yes.
Yeah. But just didn't go to its potential. I think I'll stick with that line as well.
I agree with you, Lee. It needed a middle 8.
Yeah, just even like a little, just 4 bars, 8 bars, a little minor key thing in the middle, and then a shorter solo, maybe a bit more of a hooky solo, and because the solo meandered a little bit. Now, as I say, speaking of someone who does more than a few dodgy bent notes and meandering solos, we all do that, but. It kind of coloured things a bit for me.
All right. Well, that's great to hear. Thank you very much, Leigh. I appreciate that. The name of that track is Drill by High Treason. So, High Treason, thanks for sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. If you want your song on MSI in front of our panel, very easy to do. Go to musicsceneinvestigation.com. Sign up on the site after clicking that Submit a Song button at the top of the page, and you can submit as many songs as you like. We select 3 randomly every week for placement in front of our panel, and they'll tell it like it is, just like you heard. So certainly hope you do that. Take advantage of their advice. They want to make your songs better. That's why we do this. All right, gentlemen, track number 2 is a little longer than track number 1. So let's go ahead and listen to that one, and we'll see what you think of it. Here it is, track number 2, everyone. Enjoy.
My rage. Ooh.
And there you have song number 2 on today's MSI. And let's go over to Mr. Tom Chianti, get his thoughts on it first. Tom, what do you think of track number 2?
Well, I generally like this. It's a very strong song because I can imagine just the vocalist and the guitar carrying this whole thing by itself. And that's a good sign of a strong song. But the interesting choice of melody and direction and guitar chords really make it unique sounding. The vocal performance is good. My main concern, I mean, it's got all the structure and twists and good production that a song needs, except that there's a nice little bottom, and then it goes straight to the upper mids. There's an instrument, like maybe a piano or a synth, that would add a frequency to give it a fuller sound. It did sound a little small because of that. The backgrounds were a little bit buried, but really came together at the end. Especially Oohs and Ahs, I thought they should have been brought out more, fleshed out more, because they, again, were very, very interesting. And it's all well written and very melodically thought out well. I really enjoyed it, and it's just a mix and a small production. Sometimes you can't bring everything out in a mix. You have to rely on the production to use an instrument to fill the frequency. I think they were lacking some instruments in the upper lows, lower mids that would have really, really fleshed this out and opened it up. Instead, it's just a little small. But I overall liked it. It's great singer, great songwriting, interesting melody.
All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, Tom. Thank you so much. Mr. Leigh Heggarty, your thoughts on track number 2?
Yes, definitely a sort of a singer-songwriter song, wasn't it? That's almost the first thing I wrote down as it started with the word singer-songwriter. It had that kind of feel of the guy with the acoustic guitar or the guy with the piano or whatever, about to tell the story. Some tricky guitar playing, very good. Wow, some of that picking on the start was quite interesting. As Tom said, all good stuff. Very, very kind of that kind of laid back feel. I like the middle 8. I like the climb up in the middle 8 because that was quite unexpected. Where the bass came in and it kind of moved around a bit. The solo was good. Drop out bit in the last chorus. All good stuff. For me, when I hit the button to hear the song and it came up as just short of 5 minutes, I thought, well, this is interesting because this is a big contrast to what we just heard. Straight away, it's going to be different. And I think with a longer song, well, right, it's not a long song, but it's a longer song. All the parts have to be a little bit more memorable. This might be an odd comparison, but I remember reading a quote once from George Martin where he said to John Lennon, you should listen to some classical music, John, and he played him a side of an album, of a record. And Lennon said at the end something like, "Well, it was quite good, but I can't really remember what happened at the start. I kind of liked it, but it's sort of lost on me." And I felt a little bit with this that because it was a longer piece, and sometimes that's nice because you can develop things. It should have got to the chorus quicker for me. The first verse could have been a shorter version of the verse almost. So that's a kind of retrospective thing to say when you've heard the song all the way through. But it just took a little bit too long to get going. It all built up nicely, but it still took a little bit too long for me. But yes, very, very, very much that kind of, as I say, singer-songwriter thing. Very good. Not my type of thing, but very, very good.
All right, Leigh. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mr. Ian Husbands, what are you taking on track number 1? I mean, track number 2.
I've told you about track number 1, so should I speak about track number 2
Yeah,
now?
just skip ahead.
Yeah? All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with Tom and Leigh. I mean, that the acoustic guitars were nice and bright. There was a nice depth and clarity to the bass. The drums sounded good. The BBs were there. There was a nice string sound in there. I did find everything seemed to be a bit over-compressed. The vocals buried. The backing vocals were buried even more. As Tom said, it did kind of right itself towards the end of the song a little bit, but especially at the start, I was strained to hear what he was singing a little bit. And I swear I heard some distortions coming in there somewhere, like a clipping or something like that. Like it's been over compressed for my liking. It seemed to be everything up there in front of you, whereas, it just needed to sort of lay back a bit. Performances very strong, great guitar playing, great vocals. Everything just seemed to be there. It did have a fade out. I don't like fade outs. But for me, it's a strong song. It's got a strong arrangement. It's been well written. It's had a lot of attention. The middle eight to the solo to the breakdown, back into the sort of final choruses and stuff like that. Everything was there, but I just found it all a bit Disney. It was all a bit nice, and it was all a bit. It just, from my point of view, a bit wet. It didn't grab me. It didn't want me to listen, make me want to listen any harder or any more. It was just there in the background, and I can see it probably being a hit for someone, but it's not the sort of track that I go out and buy.
All right, Ian, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your thoughts as well. The name of that track for everyone out there is I Can Feel You by Alan Starkie. So we appreciate Alan Starkie sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Thank you so much for doing so. All right, gentlemen, we have one more track for your listening pleasure. If you'd like to, we can listen to it now, and I'd like to anyway.
Well, I'd like to as well.
I think that's why we've all been brought together on Easter.
That's exactly right, Tom. You said it first. So here it is, track...
And he didn't even buy us an egg.
No eggs. I'm allergic.
Ooh, good answer.
That's true. All right. Here it is, track number 3 on today's MSI. Have a great time listening to it.
I've been gone way too long, and this place has seen so much change. They look at me with their faces strong. Deep inside, I feel the pain. It used to be such a vibrant town. Garden in the rain. If all of the good folks raise their voice every day, you know that tomorrow for the better things will change. It's a troubled time, it's a heavy load. Many people cry, 'cause lies been told. Is this what we're gonna leave behind? Our kids will suffer, how will kids survive? I remember better times, corner stores and ball games. Mr. Houston chasing us out his garden in the rain. If all of the good folk raise their voice every day, you know that tomorrow for the better things will change. You know that tomorrow for the better things will change.
That is track number 3 on today's MSI. Let's go to Mr. Leigh Heggarty, find out what he thought on track number 3. Leigh, your thoughts?
Well, as they say in the House of Commons in London, England, I refer to the answer I gave a few moments ago. Kind of again, saw it was quite a long song. Thought, well, this is kind of interesting. I liked it when it started. I like that kind of very almost dull guitar sound. I quite like things like that, almost like a de-eyed sound. I liked that, and then it kind of took a while to get going. But when the vocal came in, I thought, well, this is quite interesting. It's good. May have something to say for himself. Good sounding vocal. The feel of it was okay. The middle bit was a bit too long. That instrumental in the middle, I felt, went on a bit. But when I feared he was going to go back into a verse and it was all going to go round and round and round. But fortunately, it went to the chorus part. That was good. I like it. Personally, I liked it. But I can't think of very much to say about it, oddly enough. I've written a few scribbly things here, but I've written a lot more about the other songs. I think I might have been too busy listening to write anything, actually, if you know what I mean, which I suppose is a good thing. Yeah, I liked it. I like the, as I say, I like the sort of feel of it. I think overall, I'm left with that kind of feeling. I thought the feel of the track was good. That I remember Better Times bit when it comes in is a strong vocal there, and the vocals on there were good. The backing vocals. Yeah, Ian did a short review earlier. This is my short review tonight. Not much to say. But I did enjoy the track.
All right. Fair enough, Leigh. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's find out from the short review guy himself, Mr. Ian Husbands, what he thought. Ian?
Right, I mean, besides losing my voice,
Lord.
Always what you're hanging about. I need some Jack Daniels. That soothed the palate. Right, I mean, feel of the track, yes, I agree. I loved. There's a sort of Blind Melon / Snake Pit kind of thing going on here. Those sort of dirty guitar sounds, the sort of Southern Americana sort of rock edge to it, the harmonies, the BBs, and the way they're working together. So as a song, I think this is probably the strongest song we've heard this week. There's some good, I think Chris has said in the chat there, best lyrics from what he could hear of the day, and I'd agree with that. Lyrically, it was good. Melodically, very good. Harmony's good. But the band and the mix were all over the place, which is a real shame. Because, I mean, the mix, the way the guitars were panned, one guitar was louder than another. The slide was barely audible in the intro, and it was in and out. The vocal mix was inconsistent, as well as the layering being very loose. They just didn't basically come together well enough. And the band, I mean, I'd maybe even take a stab that this was a live take just mixed down through a desk. It doesn't seem to be mixed. There seems to be lacks of compression and lacks of reverbs being used, and it just sounds like someone's pulled it up in a studio. Right, let's slam this down, and they've taken the mix straight off the desk without really running it through any processes or effects or anything like that. The bass was making farting noises with string noise. That some of the guitar transitions, especially into that sort of mid-late section, were really awkward. It was like the guitarist was fumbling over his fingers, and they just didn't seem to be playing together, or in some cases playing the same song, which is a shame, because there is a really good song here. I do think. I think if they need to go back, revisit this, track this properly, get those drums tight, get the bass player in and get him tight to the drums, and then get everyone to fall in behind them too. Because at the moment it's just so loose, and not loose in a good sense. Sometimes we talk about the feel of a track and how that little bit of looseness helps the feel of the track. In this case, it's detrimental to the track, and I actually found it quite hard going to listen to the full 4.5 minutes of this because of that reason.
All right, Ian, I appreciate your thoughts as well. Over to Tom Chianti. Tom, what do you think of track number 3?
I like Ian's choice of word, awkward. The whole thing to me seems awkward. It has the basics of a very good song, but the vocalist's entry is very weak. He's very pitchy. Guitars are doing bends and slides that are not in tune or in time. The drummer was a little too loose. This was the bass player. I really wanted to like it because it had a nice raw sound to it. But it falls short. I agree with Ian. They need to really get back and rehearse it, get it tight, get everybody's part down, and then get it mixed by somebody who does this type of music. The balances were forever changing, and it may have been, like Ian said, a live board mix with everybody picking a fader, moving it up and down, and willy-nilly. But yeah, awkward. Again, tunings on the guitar. The vocalist did get it together, and the drop downs from the chorus were too extreme. I like dynamics, but it was almost like you had to readjust your ears to catch the song again after the chorus where it broke down into just guitars. And again, panning, like Ian said, of the guitars. It's a balance thing and a performance thing. If they get the performance together, I do believe the balances will be much easier to get and cause less automation or moving faders or whatnot. Overall, I got a good vibe feeling from it, but it's really messy at this point. It needs a little bit more work, and then they're going to really have something.
All right, Tom. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. The name of that track for everybody is not 7 Seconds of Silence at the Beginning. It's rather called Maybe Tomorrow by the Whiskey Kings. We appreciate the Whiskey Kings for sending that track in to us. Thank you so very much. All right, gentlemen, as always at this time, I'm going to turn things over to you so you can discuss your selection for Song of the Week.
Oh, was that a question?
It was a direction, actually.
Oh, and you give directions so well, Rich.
I don't know. Apparently not. Nobody's talking.
Right.
We're thinking.
Yes, it's not an obvious one. This for me, is it? It doesn't sound like it is for any of us.
I think it is an obvious one. Let's be honest. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of song number 2. But from a performance point of view, a mix point of view, and an arrangement point of view, and having a finished piece, number 2 really is the only choice, I think.
I agree with it if you're saying, well, sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go right ahead. You are the guest. I am the meat.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that I'd have to agree with that, but I didn't say much about the third track, I think, because I liked it. I didn't really want to sort of knock it. And I know there was a lot of shortcomings in the performance and in the sound on the track, but I thought it had a lot going for it. It had a lot of potential. And I keep going back to the feel of the track. Yes, all right, some of it was a bit shaky performance-wise. But are we judging it as a final finished piece, or are we judging it as something with potential, or something that could be good?
That is down to you, sir. That is down to you.
Okay, I'm going to muse further for a few seconds.
All right, well, then I'll give you room to muse.
Muse.
I actually am fond of number 3, but we judge based on, or I judge by overall, I mean, number 2 was equally as well written and unique as number 3, but it came across much better overall in the mix. Maybe all they have to do is master it to fill up the missing frequencies, but the playing was much better. And again, the chord and the chords and the way he interwove the melody came up with some really unique sounds, which I really, really liked. And like I said, it's the one song that if you stripped everything away but the guy singing and a guitar would absolutely hold my potential, so my attention and my potential, whatever they want to hold. So
steady now.
Lord.
I have to go with number 2.
Well, I think having heard you both say that on that criteria, so do I. I personally, I would listen to number 3 as a taste, if you like, or something that I would enjoy listening to. But yes, in terms of what we've heard tonight, it has to be number 2. Then. Yes, as I say, my thoughts for number 3 was that it could be brilliant, and yes, it should have been. I shouldn't be saying it could be. I should say it shouldn't. I say yes, it isn't finished. It's not ready to go. So, and an honourable mention for number 1, which we've all kind of left behind, which wasn't that bad, was it?
No, I actually liked it.
I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was cool, but it just didn't quite. I think that you're right in terms of performance and sound and everything. Number 2 has left the other 2 behind. Yeah, okay, so I will say that.
All right, so it's unanimous with number 2, Alan Starkie's "I Can Feel You" being selected as our song of the week. Of course, we want to know what you think out there, as well as our viewers and listeners. You're very important to us. Please let us know your thoughts. Did our panel get it right? You can hit that Be a Witness selection on the side of the page at musicsceneinvestigation.com. Let us know what you thought, and we'll bring the results to you next week on our broadcast. All right, gentlemen, thanks very much for being here. Appreciate it, Leigh. Thank you so much, as always. You're a great guy to have on the show with us.
No, thank you. It's always good fun.
And you're going to have to keep us up to date on the official release of the new album and the tour dates and everything like that.
Sure. A very quick plug, www.theruts.co.uk. It should all be on there.
Absolutely.
And there's a Facebook page, but there's a Facebook page as well, which you can like, which I believe the term is. You like a Facebook page, don't you?
True enough.
There's a page for Ruts DC, and there's a page for the Ruts as well, the older stuff as well. But
I hear Facebook's coming up with an adult version where you can lick the page instead of liking it.
That's just weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Tom.
I've heard a touch screen, but that's taking it a bit far.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit frightened.
Yeah. That makes 3 of us, I think. Yeah.
And I hear you that the Ruts DC are playing at the Bearded Theory Festival this year.
We're doing the Bearded Theory Festival. We're doing the Rebellion Festival in Blackpool as well in August. There's a few other things in the pipeline. So we're going to Germany. There's all sorts of things, hopefully. Yeah. And
we've got an MSI guest playing the Friday night of the Theory and the Saturday night now. So we just need to find a Sunday, and we're taking over.
Time for an MSI festival, perhaps, team.
There you are. There you are.
Oh, that would be a dream.
Maybe at some point in the future we can do that, an MSI festival.
I shall volunteer the Ruts DC for the inaugural podcast from our subterranean rehearsal room in South London. Maybe we'll do a...
That's actually a good idea. Have everybody webcast their performance.
We could meet somewhere halfway in between.
Yeah, like the middle of the tunnel that they were talking about earlier.
The Atlantic Tunnel. That's
There you
it.
go.
Come on.
Exactly. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody being with us. Thanks again. We're going to play out with song number 2, "I Can Feel You" by Alan Starkie, this week's Song of the Week. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you again next week right here on MSI. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy.
you